I mean, definitely the first year they did it, I thought it was just, basically I thought it was an offshoot of DOF, you know, because most of the people there, Kelechi, well, I don't know if Kelechi did that actually, Uche, Amaize, you know, Emeka, it was like three of them. So it kind of felt like a little fun DOF thing. And I thought it would just be like a one-off thing. And then the next year they did it, I was like, wow, this is really cool. I mean, I think it could be such a hugely impactful cultural phenomenon because, I mean, these are just a group of guys that just said, look, we're just going to pack our bags and travel and just see, you know, just asking questions about what it is to be, you know, Nigerian, African, woman, man, whatever. No, I think it's definitely sustainable, obviously, if we get like completely always getting help from the people, because most artists don't have money. So it's only sustainable if we have, you know, I think relevant content that we're giving to people that will make them invest more, obviously, in continuing the project. The way that I work has changed a lot, you know, because of the circumstances that I've faced, basically. I mean, when I lived in Lagos working with DOF, I'd get on the streets, you know, go and take pictures of, you know, stories. I always used to work with groups of people that I was interested in what they were doing. I did a long-term project with this little girl that lived near my house. She had like a little shop, she used to sell tom-tom and stuff. And so I did like a long project with her, just documenting her and trying to get funding for her and her siblings to go to school. And obviously I had to keep giving, you know, the people that were giving her money to go to school, I was always having to furnish them with pictures of what she was doing. I mean, now she's like 16 or 17, she's got like her own child. So that isn't what I do now. I mean, I don't do projects like documentary style street photography anymore because, like I said, I live in Saudi. It's not as easy to just walk around with my camera, like pointing my camera in anybody's face. It's a really sort of, I don't want to say closed, but it's really conservative. And, you know, the idea of the gaze is still like a really sort of sensitive matter. So the way that I work now is more kind of in my head. I do all my planning of what I want in my pictures. So it's all sort of, I mean, it's always been ideas based, but lots of themes that I'm actually working on. And then I usually just get people that I'm comfortable with, either models or actors or friends, and I create that visual that I want, you know. The last project that I did, which I'm hoping to kind of carry on an extension of it, was something called That Other Village Project, which was loosely based around a king or a young prince that is like a reluctant king. And so I created the scenario whereby he has like all these secrets that nobody in the village knows about, you know. And so I create these characters, you know, his twin sisters, the village headmaster, the amebo, this Yaonigo in the village. And I got one guy, a friend of mine, to be the actor, this guy called Damola, and he was in the studio with me, and I dressed him up as a woman, as a man, as a teacher, and I got him all dressed up in green screen. And what I'd done was I actually placed him in pictures that I'd done in my dad's village in Ota. So I took these pictures in Ota, and then I put Damola in these images to kind of create this random village of crazy characters. So that's how I work now. Well, how I see the Invisible Borders, my 46 days going, is I still want to be more, I still want to plan my shots. I'm not really comfortable with getting on the streets and taking random pictures. So I will do, because that's part of the fun of it. But I think at the end of the day, I may still do a lot of compositing where I'm putting images from maybe set up with some of the guys that I'm working with, that I'm traveling with, and then composite them, maybe somehow, I don't know, with some of the street work that we get. I mean, I don't think it's just a Nigerian problem, if I'm very fair. I think most photographers, even in my friends in Europe or a couple of my friends that I have in Saudi that are photographers, you always kind of have to have a second income, really, because it's not like a 9-to-5 job where you get paid a salary at the end of the month. And if you have responsibilities, you have kids or anything, you need to find a way of sustaining a reasonable, regular income. So that's why I teach. I mean, I moved to Saudi, and all those years ago, I was just convinced I was just going to do nothing. But I got lucky, and I kind of stumbled upon this really amazing teaching job. It's like a rolling contract, a lectureship at a university. And because it is university, you get such a long summer holiday break, so from June, literally from now, I'm done until September, which is, I mean, if you do the math, it's like over 120 days that, it's literally my time to do whatever I want to do. Invisible borders, I could start my own project, I could literally get a full-time job for the next 4 months. It gives me that opportunity to do what I want to do in this huge amount of time, travel, create. But it also means that the rest of the year, I am 100% a teacher. That's all I think about. I think about grading, I think about course files, I think about syllabus, I think about, keeping my darkroom clean so my students don't slip. And, I'm a full-time teacher, So it leaves no room at all for me to think about, I must create some new work. But I mean, at the same time, it's fulfilling. Don't get me wrong, I love my job as a teacher because, I'm constantly have like this sliding door of students coming through with their own ideas, and my job as a teacher is to sometimes furnish them with ways of thinking or bringing out their own ideas, which makes me have to think. So I sometimes you kind of feel begrudged that you're thinking for other people. You should be doing your own thinking, but as a teacher you kind of still have to help guide them. So it can be quite frustrating. You're thinking, God, I'm literally doing other people's work when I should be thinking about creating my own. And like I said to you earlier, it can be really frustrating, especially when it comes to like May, June, that time of the year. Everybody kind of knows Zaynab's losing. I kind of unravel a bit, like most teachers do. At the end of the year, start unraveling after you've been constantly bombarded with things, the negative parts of being a teacher. And so... yeah, but I mean, there's so many upsides. You can imagine, I'm here and I know at the end of the month, whether or not I'm teaching or not, I'm going to get paid, right up until September. So, yeah. So I think to be a photographer, unless, I don't know, there's some big names here, and certainly Kelechi, my dear friend, he's got a formula that works really well for him. He always has commissions. He's a really personable person. And this isn't something that happens for everybody. You can be an amazing photographer, but maybe you just don't have those people skills. Maybe you don't have the experience. You certainly don't have the name to generate the kind of income that you need to live comfortably, I think a lot of people who are artists that make decisions, like they're very spontaneous in the decision making, and I think that's really risky. You can't just spontaneously drop your job, especially because things like that mean you are burning bridges. Okay, yeah. So I mean, my advice to somebody who's going to do something like that is, yeah, quit your job, okay, but do it at the right time. Okay, plan. Foretell what you think it's going to be like in 3 years. Okay, we're not going to travel for this. The kids are only going to buy one pair of Crocs every semester. You make plans for what is going to happen. You can't just drop your job and, especially as, I know this sounds really sort of sexist almost, but especially as men, in Nigeria, because part of the project that I'm going to be working on is something called, the title is Stereotypes of Masculinity in Post-Colonial Nigeria. So how, what is a man? What is the idea of being a man? Which was also a part of my my other village project, which is such a convoluted idea, but there's so many layers of it. It was about the stereotypes of what makes a man, And certainly if I quit my job tomorrow, nobody's gonna bat an eyelid. Okay, it's okay, she's a girl, whatever, she can go and live with her parents or whatever, live off her husband. But for a man, I think it's a lot harder. Because the stereotypes of what is a man. A man provides for his family. A man does this and a man does that. He has land. He has houses and all that. I mean, it's not rubbish, but they're things that have been ingrained in the minds of men from when, the rites of passage of, manhood, you have to provide for your wife. The ideas of things like, things fall apart, Konko was a man. And I remember so well, there was a part of it where he was so annoyed with his father because his father didn't provide for his, he felt like he didn't provide, and that's why he didn't want to be like his dad. He wanted to be the man and be very sort of, very